Welcome to Scorched Earth, a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant for the month of August. I hope you're well. I just want to say I'm really sorry for leaving you so late. I had a couple of people comment on other videos that I've been uploading in the last week or so, asking if I'd stopped doing Taurus videos, and I was absolutely devastated. The thought that you might have thought that I had abandoned you. I have to say, from one fixed sign to another, my loyalty to the Bull Gang is unswerving. Please don't ever think that I will do that. As long as I am physically capable of doing it and technology allows, I will always be here. But sometimes I run late, and that is what happened. Aside from, you know, life being what it is at the moment and all of the challenges that brings. I was trying to get all of the 6-month overviews completed, and that kind of knocked my schedule off a little bit. So to that end, they are all now done. It's the second link in the description box. That runs to over 30 hours of content across the 12 signs. So if you're interested in that, that's the second link in the description box. And there will be an extended at the end of that this video, and that will be the first link in the description. Right, apologies for the noise if you can hear it in the background. That has been running solidly from 8 AM to 6 PM since Monday, and it's now Thursday. So I'm having to just try and tune it out and pretend it's not there. Hopefully it's not too audible and it's not a distraction for you, but if it is, I apologise. So let's have a look and see what's going on with you. I have 3 cards for Taurus, please. No, there's the first one. We have the King of Swords, Aquarius energy in your recent past. That present energy for Taurus is... Oh, thank you. That one drifted off. Oh, we have the 6 of Swords, like that. And what's coming towards Taurus, please? August. Thank you. We have the 6 of Wands. Oh, I like this, Taurus. We have the 4 of Cups at the bottom of the deck, followed by the Knight of Cups and the 4 of Swords. Well, I don't want to speak too much on this until I've seen the clarifiers coming out, so we will come back to this. But it does look like you have been maybe lost in thought, but certainly contemplating the nature of what it is for you to give, you know, your love and attention and focus to people, and where it has been rejected at times. Right, we've got that the Knight of Cups there and the 4 of Cups, and I notice that they're sitting with their backs to each other. Now, I don't feel a great sense of misery associated with this. There's no trauma kind of bubbling to the surface. It feels more like an active contemplation of it, and to that end I like it because it's quite objective, it's quite detached. But let's have a look at some clarifiers. Pick a deck for clarifying. Which one is it? Apparently we're going to go with the Llewellyn. All right, okay. So, tell me about the King of Swords, please. Thank you. We have the 2 of Pentacles, and the 6 of Swords again. Okay, tell me about the 6 of Swords, please. Thank you. We've got the 10 of Cups and the 4 of Swords. I want one more for that. And the Queen of Pentacles. Oh, I like where this is going, Taurus. I like it a lot. Tell me about the 6 of Wands, please. We've got the 2 of Cups. And we've got the Tower. That's interesting. Definitely going to be pulling a card or 2 more for that, so don't worry about the Tower, right? It's nothing to be concerned about. Now, we've got the 4 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, and I feel like this feeds in really nicely with the tone of the reading and how I feel it's going anyway, and including the shadow cards on the other deck here, because what we've got is some foundational level contemplation, right? And by foundational level, I mean the way that you go around doing things, Taurus, right? You've done a considerable amount of work in the last 18 months, and I think it's become far more refined now. There's a sophistication in the way that you are approaching your own internal work that wasn't exactly missing, say, 2 years ago. But it wasn't quite as clean, you know. There was a lot of like smashing bullhead up against things and being like, fuck, I don't understand, I'm trying to work really hard at this thing and it's just not happening. Now you're much more considered in the way that you do things, and I also feel quite strongly that you've got to a point now where you understand what deserves you taking personal responsibility for, and the long and short of it is you and your reactions only, and what you are prepared to stand back and let other people take responsibility for. And you may find that this has had its expression in all sorts of ways for you. So it's not just about who does the heavy lifting in, you know, your relationships, but you might have found that it's kind of carried forwards into your work life and stuff like that as well, you know. And it feels much more content, Taurus, than ever it was a year and a half ago. You know, there's a comfort in your own skin, with no sense of having to suck in your ribs or do anything like that. It's just like, no, here I am, I'm Taurus, you know, and it's that solid, dependable energy that we all love about Taurus anyway, but without any of the kind of frantic emotional and mental fizziness that would often accompany it, you know. So how you feel about yourself, how you would overthink a situation, how you would maybe look for subtext that wasn't necessarily there, or, you know, you would see something and you would respond to it and internalize it and decide it was your fault. You know, all of that's kind of gone now, and there's a beautiful simplicity about the way that you seem to be structured internally now, that you accept, that you allow to be the way that it is. And this simple comfort that you've got, and that's not to say that there aren't complex situations around you, because there quite likely are, but the way that you approach your inner work now, it's like, no, I'm comfortable with this here, being me, that's cool. This that's happening right here, it's nothing to do with me. I'm gonna sit here and I will be here, and if you need some support, I'm over here, but I'm not shouldering this burden anymore, because that's not fair, it's not right, and I'm not prepared to let that kind of that pattern perpetuate forwards, right? So it's kind of like an overview of of where you have been compared to where you are now. But now it looks like you're doing just a little bit more prodding around of things, and I think this is important because every sign that I've read for so far has had August be a month that is in some way or another kind of pivotal. There is a lot of personal transformation going on this month, and I mean, well, I've got 2 more signs to read for after you. Every single one of them, August is a really, really important month, and it's not about the things that are happening externally to you. It is all very much about shifts that are occurring within, and I'm here for this all day long, I can't tell you. So in your recent past, we have the King of Swords, and like I said, that's Aquarius energy there. And the King of Swords has exceptional judgment about things. You know, both the King and the Queen of Swords in their respective ways are lower echoes of the Justice card for me. You know, the Queen of Swords is the part of the partnership that takes on the information, is very, very discerning about what needs to be considered and what is irrelevant at this point. And I feel like from there, it gets brought to the King, and the King is the final arbiter. The King makes the decisions. You make the decisions. And it feels like a very, very empowered position for you to be sitting in, Taurus, because this energy is sitting quite apart from whatever churning mass of chaos might be going on in front of you. You know, there's a stability here that will not be knocked by anything and anyone outside of you. And that, Taurus, my darlings, is exactly why the rest of the zodiac need you. You need to be unswerving in your belief in yourself. And you may not, you may have the odd situation, you know, the odd moment here where you kind of, am I doing the right thing here? And that's good. I want you to keep a hold of that. But stop it from falling into overthinking. Stop it from falling into third, fourth time guessing yourself. Stop it ever from, you know, words that are coming from other people being enough to make you falter, right? But it's not what we want. It's that resilient stability right there in the middle of everything, holding everything up as you do, Taurus, because you are, you know, you fixed earth. Like, it doesn't get any more grounded and rooted and planted than you. And now that everything is running healthily for you, and you can take your sustenance from yourself, you know, maybe you're sucking it up from the earth too, you know, and pulling in from the ether, whatever. But you are that point of stability for yourself, which is more important than anything else in the world. And your judgment is spot on about a lot of things. Now, when we come down to the clarifiers, we've got the Two of Pentacles and the Six of Swords here. And I like this because this is you making really good decisions about what is going on inside of you, right? And it all comes off the back of this work that you have been doing for such a long time, right? Now, you've never shied away from a challenge, ever. But you know where to put your pentacles and where not to put your pentacles now. And in terms of the emotional exploration that you are now capable of conducting without falling into the pain of any given situation, you know, all of these emotions inside of you, and the cards that number 2 was speak to the internal for me. You are capable of some incredibly grand emotions, but also the foundational ones, right? It's always coming back to this notion of support. And as a herd creature, it would make sense that you are, you know, that way programmed. But I see in this Two of Pentacles, you taking responsibility for everything that you feel, right? We've got the Two Pentacles there. We've got this process of balance and alignment going on here. And it isn't always easy. It isn't. There's been a lot to deal with. But you're managing it now to the point where you can kind of stand on one leg. You know, I said last year that there would come a point where you would be able to do this analysis and this reflection on the fly. You wouldn't need to sit down and be like, I'm going to study myself. It wasn't that kind of energy. You know, we get to the point where every new situation that you encounter, every, you know, new interaction with someone else would have you sharp to your own internal responses about things. And as things were unfolding, you would be able to keep pace with that and at least put some pins in it. Like, I might need to go away and think about these things, but at least I know exactly what I'm looking at, and I'm coming at it from a really healthy place, right? So your judgment about what requires your pentacle and what doesn't, what needs you to juggle a few things, you know, maybe where situations come up that historically you would have acted a particular way, or in a particular way, responded in a particular way. You're now self-aware enough to go, oh, I might have done that, but I'm actually just going to pause for a moment and I'm going to maybe do it a different way. And with this Six of Swords here, there's a lot that is being left behind, and I'm seeing this across all of the signs. The thing is, it's happening on quite a it's happening on quite a deep level, right? What I'm not getting a sense of are any of the signs kind of sitting down and, you know, cracking the knuckles and being right, I'm going to shadow work now. Because I feel like there's been kind of pockets of that occurring over the last few months anyway, I mean, particularly with the fixed signs, Scorpio and Leo, for sure. It doesn't seem to be a conscious process. And whilst it possibly might be that you've moved away from certain people and away from certain situations, that the movement appears to be entirely internal more than anything else. Now, I've said a number of times, right, it's possible to take yourself out of a situation and then take all of the emotions that situation brought up in you away with you too, and then continue that pattern of response far, far away from whatever this situation is. And whilst it's not the Eight of Cups, the fact that it's Swords feels like there's a consciousness to this process, even if it is just the fact that you are noticing that it is happening rather than being an active participant in it. I hope that that makes sense. Because the swords are all about the ways that we express ourselves, right? It is about intellect. It is about logic and reason and rationality, but it is also about the wisdom that comes from experience. You know, the whole sword suit contains a very painful yet very profound set of lessons for us. And moving away, as the Six of Swords does, from the Five of Swords, it's like particular mental processes, repetitious thought patterns, which you thought were A, just how everybody else thought about things, and B, like the idea of them not being there was so far away from your experience of reality that you're not sure that it is possible to experience reality without them. It's kind of fallen by the wayside, and now it's like I have actually accrued a considerable amount of wisdom from all of these old situations, and particularly given the ways that I have behaved. So where I have overinvested, or where I have, where I have shouldered the burden of the collective far too fucking much, and to the degree that rather than being the support that I hoped that I was, instead I've just been draining the shit out of myself, and I've, rather than enabling someone to be their best self, probably what I've done is stop them from doing their own work. And you're not about that anymore. It feels very, like I said, very strong and very considered, and something that's kind of bleeding into your consciousness now, rather than it being just a purely subconscious situation. And when we move into your present energy, we come straight back into the Six of Swords again. Notice that we've got the water depicted here, and it looks kind of choppy. Like, I would not like to be on that boat, is there a boat there? There is a boat there. Be on a boat on that water. Right? Neither do you. And now you have the wisdom to be able to elevate yourself beyond it, whether it's a level of personal evolution or spiritual growth or whatever it is. You can now detach from your emotions. And maybe this is a big thing for you, Taurus. Maybe you have now finally realized that you are not your emotions. You're also not your thoughts, which is an interesting point too. And if you have been meditating, and if you don't, I really do advise that you take it up. You're going to feel a bit daft to start with. Fuck knows I did. And it took me, I've been trying to meditate for years, right? Years and years and years, never cracked it. I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to make my brain shut down? How am I supposed to stop it from thinking? And do you know what? It was only a year before last, somebody went, oh, you're not trying to stop your brain from thinking. I went, so what are you doing? And it's like just observing your thoughts, I started using the Headspace app, and they had an animation right at the beginning that was really, really useful to me. Like, imagine your thoughts and your thought processes as like a multi-lane motorway, right, running in each direction. And what you are doing is walking up the hillside, right? There's the motorway, walking up the hillside and sitting at the top of a small mountain and just looking from there, watching the cars go past. Now, from your vantage point, you will be able to see if, the traffic on that is made up of, shiny sports cars, for example, slow HGVs, for example. You'll be able to see an accident and how that accident happened, because you've got that perspective now that is a little bit more detached. And so when your thoughts start having a car crash, you're like, whoa, look at that. Did you see what that white car did there and how it cut that HDV up? And now suddenly there's just this massive pile up. You know, I'm kind of extending the metaphor, but you know what I mean. It's a really, really useful process. And once I understood that as being what meditation was, rather than the complete nothingness that I thought was expected of me, then from that point on, it took me about 2 weeks, but I cracked it after that. And I was like, wow. And then obviously for a few days I was like, oh my God, I'm watching my thoughts. And then I was thinking about the fact that I was watching my thoughts. The key is to just keep bringing it back to that point of neutral observation. After a while it happens, and sometimes it doesn't work. You know, if your mind is particularly busy, then you might find that there are cars just, you know, having such spectacular crashes that you're getting cars firing up, you know, up in the air in all directions. It's kind of like, yeah. Again, you know, I'm extending it, but you know what I mean, right? But I'm getting a definite sense of this. Now, whether this is with regard to your past, and there are shades of it there, but it feels much more like your present. Like I said, that ability to be able to discern on the fly. You may not be able to make the decision there and then on the fly about how you are going to respond or what the best thing for you to do is in this situation. But the fact that you notice where your responses are trying to take you as a default is really, really helpful at this point. And it's allowing you to get to this point where you can elevate beyond your thoughts, elevate beyond your emotions, and see the bigger picture. And you're kind of a big picture, really. You should be a kind of big picture kind of perspective kind of sign, really. It's when you get bogged down in the very, very small details that it sort of ends up causing vortexes. Now, that's not to say that you can't be thoughtful about the little details, but it's where the details kind of snatch you by the ankles and you are not expecting it, and then you're just kind of like trampling and being all like, oh shit, something on my ankles, you know. It's a subtle difference, but I feel like this level of sophistication of thinking that you are demonstrating now is showing me that you can discern between the two. And what we have here then is the Ten of Cups, the Four of Swords again, and the Queen of Pentacles. And this Four of Swords again is speaking to this level of compassionate detachment. Like, that's what we're aiming for here, compassionate detachment, and I feel like you're rocking it. That you are now understanding is absolutely critical for the functioning of good relationships, not just for you, but also for other people. You know, as you have done your work, you've probably become a lot more sensitive to the people around you, or perhaps people that you might have idolized, or people that you thought were absolutely brilliant. And now, as you are doing your own work, you're kind of looking at them and going, they need to do some work. Like, they really, really need to do some work on themselves. Why did I think that they were so evolved and brilliant and all that sort of thing, when actually I can see that there's an internal clusterfuck there of a person, and they just project this, or maybe they don't even project this front of awesomeness anymore. They're just exactly as they always have been, and you're kind of looking at it and going, it's a bit of a car crash, that. I'm going to step back out of the way. It's not to say that you cannot be supportive. It's not to say that the needs of the collective as a whole are now no longer important. They will always be important to you. They should always be important to you. But because your perspective has changed, and because of the type of work that you have done on yourself, and the amount of effort that you've put into it, I feel like you're seeing dynamics very, very differently now. And the happiness of the collective that surrounds you, whether that is your friends, whether that is your family, maybe even co-workers, because your work relationships are important to you too, Taurus. This shift in the dynamic that you're seeing, right, which is a symptom of your discernment now, and as it's presenting itself, is showing you that compassionate detachment is definitely the way forward. And also with this Capricorn card here of the Queen of Pentacles, knowing that you need to adhere very, very strongly to your sense of self, your sense of worth, your sense of value, and not be washed off the point where you have planted yourself, right? I'm feeling that very, very strongly. Like the energy that you've got at the moment is so grounded. Like it's brilliant, actually. I could do with an IRL Taurus around me, actually. That would be incredible. It's so grounded and wise. And broad in your perspective. It's like you've taken your eyes off the very niggly things down here and you're kind of taking a step back and looking at the wider perspective and seeing a place for you in there. And that's a big one, really big place for you. Like, maybe not to the degree that you understand your purpose now, because I think that that's still a little bit elusive for some of you, and I think it's possibly why you are dipping back in and doing some more work, you know. Certainly checking yourself and making sure that your responses are right, and that is as it should be. With the Four of Swords, this Knight of Cups, and there's Four of Cups here. Definitely considering the way that you show emotion, right? Maybe you're considering the fact that you've realized that people around you speak very, very different love languages to you, and now that you see that, maybe you realize that at points they have not, that what you perceived to be a rejection actually wasn't. That was just someone being true to the way that they experience love, because, you know, we cannot make everybody see it, you know, our way. And earth signs tend to be very focused on providing. They're very focused on the collective, making sure everybody has what they need. Whereas a fire sign, it might be more about these, you know, big, explosive, kind of passionate displays of emotion, fire of any description, you know, something that might potentially come across as a bit aggressive to you, like, oh, holy fuck, like, I only asked you if you would like me to make you dinner, and there's this big, you know, something like that. So whilst you may not understand your purpose yet, and that yet, I need to underline that and put it in bold and put asterisks to the side of it, because it is coming, Taurus. There's an absolute acceptance that there is a place for you in the world, and you in your true form, right? In the bull form, not in the cow form. No dancing around on your tippy hooves anymore. It's not a thing. It's totally not a thing. So when we move into August, we've got the Six of Wands, and I like that, obviously, because it's a Leo card, but it also talks about success. More than that, it talks about conspicuous success. It is the success that is perceived by other people of you, rather than just a quiet internal, you know, pat on the head that you give to yourself. Well, you know, well done. And I hope that some of you are learning to do that, because Tauruses generally have a predisposition towards perfectionism, and that is crippling. It is utterly crippling, and please don't do it, because you set a standard for yourself. You go, right, I need to achieve this thing here. And if you fall short of it, then it's like, well, I am a piece of shit human being. I don't even know why I thought I was ever going to be able to hit that. It's clearly beyond my capacity. But if you do hit it, you're like, oh shit, well, I set the bar too low. Obviously I was going to achieve that, you know, what a piece of shit I am to set the bar so low. You know, it just turns into a way that you can kick the shit out of yourself repeatedly, whether you achieve or whether you don't. So it takes a long time, but we can start putting those kind of feelings to bed. This is a way in August that you end up standing out in some way or another, Taurus. you are seen by other people. Now that is something that occasionally makes Taurus kind of like, oh fuck, no, I don't want to do that. And I'm not suggesting that you're going to get up on stage and perform, you know, beautiful pirouettes and you know, pas de deux across the stage. But it does mean that in August, at some point, you are seen to be really, really good at something. And I actually feel like perhaps you've got people coming to you for advice in the month of August. But these two cards here are really intriguing, because we have the Two of Cups, we have relationships, and those are the one-on-one relationships that you have, right? Could be romantic, but they could be, you know, just friends, family, co-workers, you know, whatever. It's about intimacy to me, and the different levels at which we experience it, you know, because you may have a deeper relationship with your best friend than you do with your partner, right? Sometimes that's just how it happens. I know I did at one point. My best friend was just like, couldn't cope without them, but could probably lose the, you know, the partner that I had at the time. Oh, well, that's fine, right? It's about the different levels, and knowing that all relationships bring different levels of intimacy with them, and correspondingly different levels of value we assign to them, you know. But this card came out sideways like that, and that is intriguing in and of itself, because this way round, it's a sudden and shocking event that nobody sees coming, right? It's kind of like a universal intervention where something gets struck by lightning and knocked to the ground. So we can sometimes see it as job losses or relationships breaking up or something like that, yeah. That way round wouldn't be very helpful, and generally isn't that helpful, because it's about often stopping the tower. Right? And the reason that it's not very helpful is because the tower won't be stopped, but it is kind of trying to put everything that you have into stopping that tower, which is an exercise in futility, because it's going to come down, whatever, you know, you're just going to exhaust yourself in the process. But coming out sideways like that, it feels like a potential for something. Now, whether it is that you are being consulted by somebody about the possibility of a breakup occurring, right, because of your understanding of people and relationships and dynamics. So I can card in there, that shouldn't be there, that's what that there. Or whether it is a relationship close to you that you need to kind of address this tower energy that's circling around it. I'm not sure. I'm going to pull some more cards, and I'm going to hope that that clears that up a little bit. Tell me about this tower, please. Tell me about the tower. So we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, and we have the Four of Cups. What's this to do with Taurus? We've got the Four of Wands and the Ace of Wands. Ooh, what an intriguing set of cards. God, it's going to be one of those readings. Tell me about the Two of Cups. How does this relate to Taurus? Right. King of Swords at the bottom of the deck. I can see this playing out a number of different ways, and to be honest, as things stand, I'm not really quite sure which one it is. Hopefully in the Vimeo we'll be able to pull it apart a little bit more and see what's going on. But we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. That to me is codependency, right? If the Nine of Pentacles in the upright is for me the energetic opposite of the devil, and it is, right? That's how I see it. Then the Nine of Pentacles in reverse is that inability to conquer codependence. It's paired up here with the Four of Cups again, right? And we see that Four of Cups there. This is not you, Taurus. This isn't your behavior. I know that for a fact. But we've also got the Four of Wands and we've got the Ace of Wands here. And it seems to me like there is either a relationship that you are directly involved with. So, you know, possibly a you know, partner, possibly a spouse. possibly friends, possibly family. A direct relationship that you have where, just like I was saying before, you've kind of now got your eye in and you can see how other people have their work to do. And maybe at this point you are capable of seeing not only what their problem is, but how it is that they could then sort it out. And I know when you find something that works for you, and for all of you, it's been the work that you've done over the last 18 months, the joy of the discovery means that often you just kind of like go start knocking people over with your bull head and being like, I've fucking got the answers, everything, it's here, like here. And you realize that when you keep getting kicked back by it and people are like, nah, you realize that there are a lot of people out there who are not as enthusiastic about doing their own work. There are people who are not prepared to have their ego challenged in the ways that you are comfortable at this point in challenging your own ego on stuff, challenging your own narratives on things. And I think for a lot of you that was a really difficult and really disappointing aspect. But sort of, towards the back end of last year specifically, you're like, this works. I know this works. I've lived this experience. I'm not telling you this because I just want to be seen as being the person who knows everything. Like, I literally want to share it. It's that, that predisposition towards teaching that Taurus have, and it's because you discover the knowledge and then you want to share the knowledge, But for a lot of you, it's fallen on deaf ears. Now, this feels to me either like I said, this is a direct relationship that you are involved with, where you are now looking at someone and you're like, they aren't who I thought they were. And more importantly, they aren't who I thought they could be, because they're not prepared to put in the work to get there. And that feels like it could be quite a potentially destabilizing, briefly for you, revelation that you can have. Or it is somebody approaching you for advice on that situation, right? A situation that they are directly experiencing. Because we've got codependence here, we've got rejection, and I feel like it's unintended rejection. But it's all coming off the root of somebody needing to do some work. And this is a relationship that I feel you thought had some legs initially. We've got the Four of Wands and the Ace of Wands together, right? So the Four of Wands it's another four. There's a lot of foundational level stuff going on here. It can be the creation of a new foundation, but ultimately it is home. It is those situations that feel like home. The thing is, it feels a lot like there's a veil being lifted from your eyes, Taurus, and you're just kind of seeing this unfolding in front of you, and you're like, wow, this is unexpected. And I feel like, to a degree, possibly you might need to take a little bit of time to really consider what you feel about this. It's very easy to be judgmental. It's really easy to be judgmental. Well, I've done my own fucking work. Like, you are a lesser person if you don't engage with yours. But we know that isn't really how these things work. Like, some people are asleep to the nature of their own shadow. We know that, and I'm sure by now you've realised that you can spot these people a mile off. And there are other people who are damaged in all sorts of subtle ways that initially we don't perceive. And then as, relationships go along and there are shared experiences, and you can have that point of objectivity in looking in to something, and you're like, and that is what you've newly developed. When I say newly developed, like over the last year, that's what you've newly developed, is that discernment. That knowing that you can trust your own judgment with things, because now you see a bigger picture, because you are willing to take responsibility for yourself. But you seem to have at least someone around you, if not directly involved with, that is not in a position where they want to do their own work. We've got I pulled another couple of cards for the Two of Cups here, and I immediately got the Five of Wands. That was the first one there. There is conflict here. There is people rubbing up the wrong way, even though they're trying to work together. And like I said, I'm not sure if this is a relationship that you are having or this is somebody coming to you. But we can't ignore the fact that the overarching energy of the month for you is the Six of Wands. And the shadow card is the King of Swords, which is the very first one that we started, right? It's like you will succeed. You will triumph over this situation in some way or another and be seen to do so. So whether that is you giving really sterling advice to somebody, one ill-sounding G, or whether it is you successfully resolving this situation, you know, being able to bring to bear the weight of your experience and express it in such a way as you are able to facilitate somebody else's perspective shift. I'm not sure, and I think that I would like to get into that over on Vimeo. But it doesn't feel like, this is the main thing, right? The Tower isn't in the upright. The shit's not falling down in August, but it feels like it's starting to wobble, because it's coming up in the reverse. It's like the potential of the situation has it going possibly one way, but possibly another. And it feels like your intervention, or it's not an intervention, it's your consultation, because it does feel like, it doesn't feel like you're just going storming into the middle of something, right? It is either that you are asked or that you are sitting and considering how you will respond to the actions of this person in front of you. Sees you with a being blessed with the ability to tip it one way or another. But there are a lot of issues here. Like I said, the codependency is a huge thing. There's perhaps some taking for granted going on too, but there's certainly a lot of active conflict. And I mean, for some of you, you might well be in the middle of that. And at which point, you know, it is useful all the way along the line to just check your responses, just check your emotions, check in with these things and make sure that you're not barreling down a road that you don't want to go down. The fact that the King of Swords is here twice, it means I think it's a vanishingly small possibility that it is you, Taurus, but just on the off chance, it's useful to keep it in mind. But this feels important here. And like I said, the Tower is not falling in August, but it has the potential to fall. And at this point, the point of discernment that you need to crack is whether this should be allowed to fall or whether you should be shoring it back up. The discernment, right? So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go over to Vimeo and try and get some more details of this, or try and nail down exactly what's going on. So if you'd like to join me over there, I would love to see you as ever. If not, no problem, I'll see you next time. But in the meantime, know that I'm absolutely devastated that you thought I would abandon you, because that will never happen. Not while there is breath in my body. But know that I love you all very, very much. And I will see you soon.